applying now to the Chagos Islands. He should scrap this treaty, Mr. Speaker, or at least have the courage to bring it here for a proper debate, full scrutiny, and finally, Mr. Speaker, a vote in this House.
Mr. Speaker, I do genuinely have to say, and I say this to somebody who has respect for and likes, indeed, the Honourable Lady, that I am disappointed by the tone of these remarks. And I don't know who writes this stuff, but it's, you know, I don't know whether it's just performative politics or rhetoric, I don't know what. But I should point out, Mr. Speaker, I should point out, Mr. Speaker, that I have received and answered over 100 written parliamentary questions from the Right Honourable Lady. I've answered over 250 questions on this deal and the process in total. We've had no less than 6 urgent questions in this House. We've had 2 statements from the Government by the Foreign Secretary and the Defence Secretary. I personally, Mr. Speaker, briefed the Right Honourable Lady and answered many of her questions in my office just a couple of weeks ago in good faith and in detail. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, I was subjected, Mr. Speaker, quite rightly to robust scrutiny, not only from the Foreign Affairs Committee of this House, Mr. Speaker, but also for the International Relations and Defence Committee in the other House, and indeed the International Arrangements Committee, in great detail on these issues. Now, I don't know, Mr. Speaker, whether the Right Honourable Lady and her team are simply not reading the transcripts, whether they're not reading the answers to the questions, but I have repeatedly answered. She might not like the answers, Mr. Speaker, but I've answered these questions. I have set out the position on costs, I've set out the position on the security arrangements, I've set out the positions on the vetoes that we have, Mr. Speaker. And the fact is, Mr. Speaker, that this deal secures this base, it secures our national security and that of our allies. It is absolutely right that it has had the proper scrutiny. And, Mr. Speaker, there will be a vote, because there will be a vote on the legislation which we will be putting before the House in due course.
Phil Brittle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On a recent visit with the Foreign Affairs Committee to Washington, I was struck by the support expressed by the US government for the deal to secure the long-term future of the military base on Diego Garcia. Alongside the US, our Five Eyes allies support the deal, NATO supports the deal, India supports the deal. So does the Minister agree with me that the benches opposite would do well to listen to our closest neighbours and allies instead of trying to play party politics with our national security?
Minister.
Well, my honourable friend is absolutely right. National security is the top priority of this government, and working with our crucial allies, including the United States, is key to that. He is absolutely right to point out the support which was gained through a full, detailed interagency process in the United States for this deal, and at the highest levels of the administration, the support from our Five Eyes partners, the support from India. Because the fact is, Mr. Speaker, that this deal secures the base, it secures our capabilities, and it would have not been signed off if it didn't do that.
Callum Miller, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The shambolic process of securing this deal has left many questions for the House. But the glaring omission at the heart of that negotiation has been the failure by successive governments to properly consult the Chagosian people. For much of their history, Chagosians have been denied consultation on who governs them and their right to self-determination. And we Liberal Democrats now fear that in handing over the sovereignty of the islands to Mauritius, without properly reflecting the interests of Chagosians, the government is only reinforcing that legacy. The Right Honourable Member for Wytham criticises the actions of Liberal Democrat peers in the other place. Yet it was only the Liberal Democrats who championed those rights of the Chagosian people and secured a commitment from the government to make statements to both houses on their approach before ratification.
At least say it like you mean it.
In light of these shortcomings, it is wrong that the government has not brought forward the treaty to this House for scrutiny. Will the Minister reverse that decision today and give parliamentarians the opportunity to assess and vote on the final deal?
Voted with them last night.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I genuinely do want to actually thank the honourable gentleman for the generally constructive way in which he and his colleagues have approached this process, and he's absolutely right to speak about the Chagosians. And indeed, as I pointed out on many times, Mr. Speaker, the Chagosians' interest in this matter has been at the heart of our discussions. We have the trust fund, we have the agreement to start visits again, and of course, Mauritius will be able to restart a programme of resettlement. He knows, he's heard the remarks made by my honourable friends in the other place on this in response to the questions that his honourable colleagues raised. We've been very clear about what we will do in that regard, and I hold to that here today as well, Mr. Speaker. I do have to challenge the suggestion this treaty has not received scrutiny. It's receiving scrutiny right now. It's been receiving scrutiny in the Foreign Affairs Committee. It's received scrutiny in the other place, and it's received scrutiny through parliamentary questions. So it is receiving scrutiny, and absolutely right that it does.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
James.
Setting out the scrutiny this is received in various places about the House. I was really taken by the number of questions he mentioned he'd received from the Right Honourable Lady on this subject. Can you tell me how many questions he's received on other matters of global importance?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's an important question that he does ask. I mean, just since the treaty was laid, I've had 50 written questions from the Right Honourable Lady. Just in comparison, on Gibraltar, I've had 4. On Ukraine, I've had 2. On Poland, I've had 1. It is absolutely right, Mr. Speaker, that it's received scrutiny.
Come on. It looks like, I'm not being funny, it's amazing the Minister had those figures to hand, isn't it? Come on, James Cleverly. Sir James.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The honourable gentleman, the honourable gentleman, who I have a huge amount of respect for, keeps saying the government had no choice but to do this deal. I do not believe that to be true. My successor, the Lord Cameron, did not believe that to be true, which is why neither I nor he signed off an agreement. So, in detail, please will he explain to the House why he believed that he had no choice, including what body, at what time, with what jurisdiction?
Mr. Speaker, in the interest of time, I will refer him to the detailed evidence I gave in the House of Lords on this matter the other day, including the legal circumstances. He knows the risks to the operations of the base in the medium and short term, and he recognises the risk of a binding legal judgment, which we believe to be inevitable. And his government knew that, and that's why they started the process. And he may not have been able to conclude the deal, I accept that, Mr. Speaker, but they went through 11 rounds of negotiations because they recognised the importance of doing this deal to secure the facility, because it is so crucial to our national security. We put our national security first, we put securing this base first, and that has met with the approval of the United States and our other Five Eyes allies.
Dr. Scott Arthur.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have to admit I'm rather confused, because I'm sure the opposition spokesperson was in the cabinet when the decision was made to start these negotiations. I'm sure that is the case. But I do, onto my question, I do think too often we focus on the military aspects of this deal. But can the Minister confirm that this deal will end the dangerous, irregular migration route into the UK?
Minister.
Well, he's absolutely right, and actually we already took action early in this government, even before the conclusion of this deal, to ensure that that route was closed down by the Memorandum of Understanding we agreed with St Helena, which again I thank St Helena for, and which again, Mr. Speaker, I rightly was subjected to scrutiny in this House on. So he is absolutely right on that point, and that's why we've done this deal.
Sir Bernard.
Mr. Speaker, could the Minister tell the House why does he think China supports this deal?
Mr. Speaker, I've been very, very clear. The United States supports this deal. Our Five Eyes partners support the deal. India supports this deal. Mauritius was one of the few countries not to join the Belt and Road Initiative. It is very clear this is in the interests of our security and that of our allies. Otherwise, the United States would not have agreed to it in the first place.
John Slinger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Clearly, language like surrender is inflammatory and inappropriate. Mr. Speaker, Conservative members of this House wax lyrical and make a song and dance about national security. I wonder if my honourable friend the Minister could remind them that on their watch our armed forces were hollowed out with the army reaching its lowest size since the Napoleonic Wars, and spending never once reached 2.5% on their watch. Isn't it true that the Labour Party and the Labour government are the party of strong defence and strong national security?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, he is absolutely right, and whether it's the ambitious agenda for national security and defence set out in the Strategic Defence Review, whether it's the unity and leadership that we showed at the NATO summit just last week, or whether it's securing our crucial national security bases, including Diego Garcia, this government is leading from the front when it comes to national security, and quite frankly, the brass neck of the other side, after hollowing out our armed forces, leaving this deal undone, and so many other matters, I simply don't understand it, Mr. Speaker.
Andrew George.
Speaker, I simply ask the Minister the same question I asked him when he first came to the House on this issue, and that is in relation to the cost consequences of this deal. He knows that the lion's share of interest is in relation to the the military base in Diego Garcia. So my question is, what contribution is the United States making to the very significant costs of compensating the Mauritians?
Mr. Speaker, the United States make significant contributions to the operations from Diego Garcia, which are crucial. They are of quantums much greater than the cost that we will pay in relation to this base under this deal. They benefit to the United Kingdom, the United States and our allies is, Mr. Speaker, priceless. And this government will not scrimp on our national security.
Peter Swallow.
Mr. Speaker, the cost of this deal is equivalent to 1/4% of our defence budget, and that's against a government who has increased defence spending, the highest sustained increase to defence spending since the Cold War. So when the Minister speaks to our international friends and allies, what is their message about the work that we are doing to restore confidence in national security and our reputation on the global stage? And what message should the opposition take from those conversations?
Minister.
Well, I repeatedly hear a strong vote of confidence in our investment in national security and defence from whether it's our European partners or whether it's from the United States. And when you look at our leadership at the NATO summit and indeed in our ongoing support for Ukraine, which of course we agree on across this House, but he asks about the value and the costs, and I've set out the costs on a number of occasions, Mr. Speaker. But as he says, it's just a fraction of 1% of our annual defence budget. It would pay to run the NHS for just 5 hours. And, Mr. Speaker, it compares favourably to other allies. For example, France pays approximately 85 million euros a year for their base in Djibouti. Diego Garcia is 15 times larger and the capabilities priceless.
Bob Blackman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister quite rightly says that the base on Diego Garcia is vital for national security, which we all agree. The key issue then is, what is the notification that has to be given to the Mauritius government of the base being used for operational purposes?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, my honourable friend, the Minister of the Armed Forces, replied to multiple questions on this topic, as have I, and indeed I answered these questions in the due scrutiny that I received the other day. We do not have to provide notification in advance. The treaty refers to expeditiously informing after. That's in absolutely normal course of business. I am absolutely clear, Mr. Speaker, that the operations, the operational autonomy of this base are secure under this deal.
Samuel Wilson.
Speaker, it's amazing that we give up an important security base without being necessary to have to do so. That we pay billions to a government which will allow them to have tax cuts while we impose tax burdens on our own country, and that the Minister stands here today from the dispatch box and says that he doesn't have time to explain why it was necessary to do so. Surely the way to ensure that we have proper scrutiny of this is to have a proper debate, or is he afraid that his own backbenchers, once they hear the real story, will find it as difficult to walk through the lobbies for it as he did for the benefits bill yesterday?
Minister. Well, I have respect for the honourable gentleman, but I totally reject his assertion. There is full support for this deal, and indeed full support for it from our allies in the United States and the Five Eyes partners. And on the point about alleged tax cuts, at no point in his budget speech did Prime Minister Rangulam say that he was planning to fund income tax reform with the money from this deal. That was very, very clear. And indeed, the rationale for this deal, which I've explained multiple times in this House, Mr. Speaker, is because our national security was at risk and the operations of that base could not function as they did. That's why the opposition started the negotiations. It's why we concluded them.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After yesterday's complete chaos, my constituents are bracing themselves for big tax increases in the autumn. How does he think they feel when they see the Mauritian government crowing about virtually abolishing income tax in Mauritius thanks to the largesse he's about to pour on them?
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I am genuinely surprised by the comments from the honourable gentleman, who, as a former Defence Minister and indeed his own service, he will know the importance of this base, he will know the importance of securing it, and he will know the risks to our operations that were inherent under the previous government. And that is why his previous government started this process. It's why we've concluded it. And it's also why, Mr. Speaker, that in relation to the costs, our costs for this deal are broadly comparable to, for example, what France pays for the base in Djibouti. but this is 15 times larger and has immeasurably more capability, as he well knows.
Up to Luke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And in his response, he quoted the answer from the Defence Secretary to my question, saying he had no choice. But the reason for doing this is because you're worried that you might be taken to court. So therefore you do have a choice. And this is what my constituents and this side are so upset about. The government could have a fight in the court. The government could then appeal that decision in the court. Yet it's chosen not to. And it won't explain why. That's why this side of the House is so upset. So could he set out what was the immediacy and